So, you want to go to college. I spent 8 years obtaining my BA in philosophy, going to 3 colleges, 2 community, and 1 University of California. And since I took so long to graduate, I figured you might like some tips if you were thinking of going to college, or if you're already in college and feel like, what am I doing here? So my first tip to you guys is ask 2 important questions. The first one, why do you want to go to college? The second, does the job that you want actually require a degree? And seriously sit down and think and write down a paragraph or 2 for each question. If you can't come up with at least a page worth of content about why you want to go to college, the sort of job you want to get after you graduate, and the life that you want to have, that going to college is going to help you obtain, then you got to ask yourself, why do you want to go to college in the first place? The why question, do you want to go to college, is really just there for you to make sure that going to college is your idea. This is your decision after all. Do you really want to go to college? Is the career path that you have lined up conducive to having a college degree? The second question is to make sure that you actually need to go to college. Sometimes you think you need a degree and you really don't. You just need some form of experience in that field. And I would make that document answering those 2 specific questions before you even decide if you should go to college, let alone if you actually want to pay for college. And if you're already in college and you're like, shoot, I didn't answer those 2 questions, don't worry. You're in college for a reason. What are the goals that you have in place in college? And that's your answer. And my second tip, please go to community college first, especially if you plan on paying for college by yourself and you don't have any sort of assistance. Community college is way cheaper, if not entirely free, at least here in California. In California, we had the Pell Grants and the Cal Grants that gave us money each semester to attend classes, and we could spend that money on books, food, gas, basically anything that we need that would help us thrive in college. Now, you could only get those grants if you fell into a certain tax bracket, and it might be different for you depending on what state you're in, but please, I implore you, make sure that you are getting a college education for as cheap as possible. Because at the end of the day, it's all the same knowledge, whether you spend $250,000 a quarter or you spend $25,000 a quarter. Also, just look at the average tuition cost of a 4-year college compared to a 2-year college, and tell me getting the 2 years of education out of the way for this price isn't way better than paying for the full 4-year tuition rate. And ask yourself, is the quote-unquote college experience really worth the extra 10 to 40K a quarter? My third tip is save every piece of paper, email, grade, and especially save your syllabuses. Please, save them. And this is especially true if you're going from a community college to a university. You see, administrators have this giant book of all the classes and all the requirements you can take for their specific school. Every school has their own book, its own big book of classes. Every advisor at those schools has some knowledge about the giant book of classes and requirements, but they don't know them all. So let me play out a little scenario that actually happened to me. So I take Anthropology 1 at my community college, Anthro 1A. But when I transferred to the university, they only accepted credits from their Anthropology 100, even though both of these classes are actually just intro to anthropology. All the same knowledge, all the same sort of concepts, but just 2 different classifications for the same understanding of intro to anthropology. When I went to go check the science requirements that I needed for my major, they were like, oh, you need to take some sort of science class to cover up these 4 credits that you're missing in order for you to earn your degree. But they don't know I know this. Well, no worries, advisor. Here's the syllabus from the class that I took at my community college that should satisfy those requirements. Here you go. What we can do is take that syllabus from your community college anthropology class, because you saved the syllabus even though it's been 2.5 years, make an appointment with your counselor, and ask if they can get this 4-credit class for you approved for transferable credits. Now this process, depending on your school, usually takes about 2 weeks because they have to send it to admissions, and admissions has to make sure that the content of that class matches the content of the class that you're trying to take, because if it doesn't, then they're not going to approve you. And here's the big long list of the things that they require from my university to get credits approved. I'm sure they're probably the same at most colleges. Now, tip 4 can kind of go along in tandem with tip 2. This is a tip mainly for trying to explore the type of careers that your major or your field of study can give you. Now, this one might be a little bit controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway. Let's say you want to be a structural engineer. I want you to go to LinkedIn, Craigslist, and any other jobs boards that you can find, and I want you to craft your own job posting for your dream job. Let's say you want $120K a year, care dental for your total compensation package. You want 2 months off of PTO and all the other requirements that you want for your dream job. And I want you to create a job posting for yourself, acting as though you're hiring for this position. Take all the buzzwords from the other jobs posting and put them into your post. Make it look like a legitimate job offer. And you can post these jobs on places like LinkedIn, Craigslist, and other job boards for under $20. And in the job posting, create another email and have them email you their resume, their portfolios, their cover letters to that email. What this will do is over the next couple of days and months, depending on the job posting and how well you crafted your job application, you'll start getting people emailing you their resumes for your dream job. Now I want you to go and look at every single resume you get, look at all of their experiences, where they were at when they started their career and where they are now. This will give you a good idea of the pathway your major will have in store for you, the experience that each job will give you, and the experience knowledge you will need for that job's level. This will also kind of give you a roadmap for what your career is actually going to look like, because you just got 5 or 6 people that want your job, the job that you want essentially, and they're going to have way more experience, way more industry knowledge, and you're going to be able to understand how resumes in that industry interact with each other when you compare and contrast them, and you're going to be able to find out what sort of resume you think would work best. After all, you got 5 data points here, might as well combine them all into the best sort of resume for you. And for my 5th tip, I actually wanted to ask you guys on my Twitter what advice you had for people going into college, or people thinking about going to college, or people that are in college. So James Hayden put a couple of here that I think are fantastic. Time management. Plan and prioritize effectively. Yes, in college you're going to have 8 different things due, all at different times. Prioritize them and then get them done, because you don't want to be, 3 days in and you have 4 discussion assignments due and 1 paper review or peer review. You want to be able to know exactly what you need done each week and get it done. He also says active participation, engage in classes, ask questions, and join study groups. Definitely. I can't tell you how many times in class, I knew people, because I was having a hard time understanding the content. And if I'm having a hard time, I know other people are having a hard time. So most of the time, especially in science classes, I would be, the only one to raise my hand and be like, can you explain that in a different way? I didn't quite understand it. Someone else will then be like, oh yeah, I didn't quite understand that. And all it takes is that one time for you to ask that question that is going to give everyone, a little bit more understanding of the topic. He also says effective note taking, develop a system, and review regularly. This one is fantastic. It took me a long time to figure out the specific ways I could study that was actually going to help me retain the information. I remember my first class, it was a political science class, and I probably had 150 different flashcards that I was just reviewing over and over and over, and it was super stressful just flipping through trying to memorize 150 different definitions, and that was not the way. So you just have to find what sort of note-taking and study methods work for you. And if you're in college right now and you're not sure what your best study method is, experiment a little bit. Maybe you need flashcards. Maybe you need to rewrite the end of the chapter. Maybe you need to regurgitate everything that you learned back to someone else, because teaching is the best way that you remember. So just experiment, have fun. And then communication with professors. Now this kind of goes back to my 3rd one about keeping syllabuses. I learned that one the hard way because I actually needed to email an old teacher and get the syllabus from that particular year, and it was like 2.5 years later. But because I developed a rapport with this teacher and we still communicate back and forth to this day, it was a lot easier for me to get that syllabus and that information because I developed that rapport with my teacher, because I was actually engaged in the content that they were trying to show us, and having discussions outside of class about that content really goes a long way, not only for building relationships but also for helping you retain the information. And Crystal says, network. The best thing I did was find people that were interested in the same career goals as me. Yes, college is a time to find your people. Now, I went to community college. I know how hard it is to try to make a community out of community college. Like, no one's really interested in, they're just all there to get their stuff done and then go live their lives. But if you're into programming, go hang out with the programmers. Get to know them. What are they working on? What are the things that they're interested in? Because you never know later in life when you're like, oh, I'm a structural engineer and I want to build out this app to help structural engineers engineer things better because I came up with a better way of doing it. You're going to want to have those connections early on to the people that can help you achieve your dreams later. Something that I wish I did, even going to university more, was networking. And COVID did a lot of damage to the networking scene at colleges. So as things are going back to normal, definitely go network with the people that you find interesting and that you want to have in your life later down the line. So those are my 5 talking words. So those are my top 5 tips in Fortnite. So those are my top 5 tips for people thinking about going to college or people that are already in college. If you have any tips that you think I missed that other people can learn from, leave them down in the comments below. Because after all, we're all just here trying to learn and better ourselves. So if you found that this video does any of that, consider hitting like and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm gods know that this video was useful to you and it should push it out to more people. If you want to connect with me more, you can find my Twitter or my X in the doobly-doo down below. If you guys like this video, I think you guys will like my last video about why mistakes aren't always what they seem. Alright, thanks so much. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.